Hey everyone, long time no see. I bet you got so used to our online video lessons already that you were counting days till our next video. Well, here I am, Olea Yankova, a senior teacher in Green Forest, and I'm ready to help you improve your English. Today, we'll be working on your grammar, more specifically, relative clauses. This lesson is provided to you by Green Forest and our interactive platform. It will take you about 30 minutes. Please, open the lesson in a new tab, just click on the link below for that. And let's get rolling. Stop! Before we do, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That way you won't miss our next video lesson and will be able to check out the previous lessons as well. Look at the links somewhere here. The topic of our today's lesson is relative clauses. The lesson is for B1 or higher level of English. It consists of 5 tasks and some use-it-right facts. The rules which will help you use relative clauses like a pro. Yes, you got it right. First I'll ask you to complete the tasks and then I'll give you some explanation on relative clauses after you manage to figure some facts out by yourself. Each task we will complete during the class has 3 buttons at the end: check, show answers, reset. When you press check button, you will see if your answers are right or wrong. When you press show answers button, you will see the correct answers. Press it again to go back to your answers. When you press reset button, all your answers will disappear and you will be able to do the task once again. Let's start with task 1. So what is a relative clause? It's a clause that gives us some important information or some extra information about a person or thing mentioned in the sentence. Task 1 consists of 2 parts. In part A, you will find a mini conversation packed with relative clauses. Can you find them all? Just click on the part of the sentence which you think is a relative clause. You have 2 minutes for this task. Once you're done, check yourself. So how many parts are not a relative clause in this conversation? You're right, just 2 of them. Crazy, right? You must have paid attention to the fact that all the relative clauses start with different relative pronouns or adverbials. That's because they give us information about different people or things. Check out part B of task 1 and match the relative pronouns and adverbials with what they describe. You have a minute for this part. Once you're done, check yourself. Got it right? I'm sure you did. By the way, did you notice that a one relative pronoun from the conversation was not in the task? Which one was it? It's pronoun who. Let's move on to task 2. You might have heard that there are two types of relative clauses, defining and non-defining. Let's try to figure out what the difference is. Look at the situations in task 2. They seem to be pretty similar, but not quite so. In one case, we have a defining relative pronoun, and in the other one, non-defining. Take a couple of seconds to look through the situations and try to figure out what they are. Please don't press check. Which situation do you think is defining? Totally, it's situation 2. Why? Because you've got two brothers and the relative clause, who is a doctor, tells me which brother has bought a Tesla. So it basically defines one of two. At the same time, in situation 1, there's just one brother, Rick. The fact that he's a doctor is non-defining because I know your brother and don't need to figure out who it is. Got it right? Then let's try to sum it up and sort the rules of defining and non-defining relative clauses below. You've got 2 minutes. Once you're done, check yourself. Let's look at the rules again. So defining relative clauses give us essential information, the one that's important for us. They help us identify who or what we're talking about. Without this information, the sentences would be either hard to understand or wouldn't make sense at all. Such clauses do not need punctuation. Non-defining relative clauses give us additional information that we could easily do without. We can easily omit these clauses and would still understand what's going on. Non-defining relative clauses are always separated from the rest of the sentence by commas. It also affects the way they are pronounced. Usually we give this information with a faster and lower tone. That's how you can identify them when someone's speaking. Compare. My brother, who is a doctor, has bought a Tesla. My brother, who's a doctor, has bought a Tesla. Now, when we know what defining and non-defining relative clauses are, let's look at these cool facts to know about them. 1. That's where one more relative pronoun appears, that. We can use it instead of who or which to define people or things, but only in defining relative clauses. It means that if you see a comma in the sentence, you can't use that in it. 2. So now we have 3 relative pronouns that are used to refer to people: who, that, whom. Is there any difference? Actually, who and that are used when the person is the subject of the sentence, basically the doer of the action. Whom is used when the person is the object. It means that we tell them, give them, explain them something, and so on. For example, this is the person whom I told you about. But if you're not sure which one to use, stick with who, because it's acceptable in spoken English these days. 3. Whose is a very tricky relative pronoun that is used to talk about possessions. But it's not only about the people's possessions, but the objects too. Check the sentence out. Is this the car whose engine isn't working properly? If the sentence sounds a bit awkward to you, you might replace whose with the phrase the engine of which. Is this the car, the engine of which is not working properly? 4. Sometimes we can omit relative pronouns, but again, only in defining relative clauses and only when it's not the subject of the clause. What does it mean? That we have a different doer of the action apart from who or which. Let's look at these sentences. I've seen the girl who you told me about. In this sentence, the relative clause is who you told me about. Relative pronoun who is not the subject because we have a different doer of the action, you. It means that we can easily say, I've seen the girl you told me about. But what about this one? Do you see the ship which is entering the bay? In this sentence, the relative clause is which is entering the bay. If you look at it one more time, you'll see there is no doer of the action apart from which. It means we can't omit it. 5. Non-defining relative clauses can comment on the whole sentence. In this case, they usually tell us what the speaker thinks of the situation or express their feelings towards it. In order to do it, put a comma after a sentence you'd like to comment on and start with which. For example, I've never been to Uzhgorod, which is a shame. Really cool grammar, isn't it? Now let's practice a bit more. Check out task 3 with me. In this task, we'll try to figure out the meaning of defining and non-defining relative clauses. You can see identical pairs of sentences. Well, almost. One of them has got a defining and the other one a non-defining relative clause. Match the sentences with their meanings, A or B. You have 5 minutes for this task. Once you're done, press check. Let's look at sentences 11 and 12. In sentence 11, there is a non-defining relative clause. It means I just wanted you to know that the UFO was blue as a fun fact or something. But in sentence 12, the same information is defining, which means there were other UFOs of different colors. Look at sentences 7 and 8. Which one says that all politicians take bribes? You're right, sentence 8. Moving on to task 4. In this task, we'll practice omitting relative pronouns. In each sentence, you have a choice of a relative pronoun and the word no. Click on both if you think you can omit the relative pronoun. Click just on a relative pronoun if it can't be omitted. You have about 5 minutes for this task. Once you're done, press check. Before we look at this task together, tell me which sentences have non-defining relative clauses here. Tricky question, right? There are none here, because we can't omit relative pronouns in non-defining relative clauses. Had any troubles here? If you ask me, a sentence about 3 bears is a bit tricky. Let's look at it together. Very often students say, Ola, 3 bears lived in the forest, didn't they? So 3 bears is the subject here. But is it really? Actually, it's not. 3 bears is the subject of the first part of the sentence. 3 bears lived there once. The word order is a bit strange here. It's called fronting, and it helps to confuse you even more. If you check out the sentence again, you'll see there are 2 verbs lived here, and for each of them we need a subject. In the first part of the sentence, it's 3 bears. So if they are a subject in the first part of the sentence, can they be a subject in the second part as well? Of course not. Over there, who is the subject? Also check out the sentences where we can omit relative pronouns. You'll see that in all of them the subject goes after the pronoun but not before. It might be another trick to use when you decide to omit or not. Let's do our final task for today. In this task you have 7 sentences with the gaps. Complete the gaps with relative pronouns or adverbials or a dash if it's possible to omit the relative pronoun. I'll ask you to ignore the task and write only one pronoun or dash in the gap. However, do think if it's possible to use some other options in the gaps as well. You have about 7 minutes for the task. When you're done, check yourself. Got everything right? Now answer a couple of my questions. Can we use that in sentence 3? No, because we see a comma, which means it's a non-defining relative clause. What about omitting which? Can I do it here? The answer is again no, for the same reason. We can do it in a non-defining relative clause. Is it okay to use whom in the second gap of sentence 5? No, because in this case, who is the subject or the doer of the action, but not the object. Is there a non-defining relative clause over here that is used to comment on the situation? Yes, it's gap 1 in sentence 7. Amazing job, everyone. Thank you for your time. We're done with our lesson for today. Thank you for joining me, and I sure hope you enjoyed the lesson and found out something new. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel not to miss our next video lesson and more cool videos on learning English. Also, write what you think of the lesson in the comments below and tell us if there are any other topics you'd like to work on. Oh, and if you missed our previous lessons, make sure you check them out as well. Also, don't forget that this short lesson is just a small part of all the English knowledge you can get with our interactive coursebook Notes by Green Forest during online lessons in Green Forest School of English. You can find all the details in the comment pinned below. See you soon!